So Jake, a couple quick questions before we get started. And you sent me some pictures before, and can I share those before we start doing makeup?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So how long have you been doing drag in some capacity or another?
Yeah, so I want to say the first time I did drag, I was a freshman in college, so I was 18 because it was Halloween. Yeah, so it was 16 years ago. But I did retire from actual active performing last November, so 15 years total. At this point, she's just a one-trick pony that I break out here and there.
One-trick ponies work for that kind of thing, right? I'm gonna so guys, just for fun, Jake said I said, do you have any pictures of when you started and over the time? So it's just a few quick pics before we get started. Oops, sorry, that's not right. I want to share view first. Hang on, share screen. And I might have these in the wrong order, Jake, but
no worries.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, she's gorgeous. This is fabulous. So talk to us. Is this one of your early looks or a later look?
This was actually right after I moved to the city. So this was about 6 months after I moved to the city. I had just started working at Alcone. I don't even think I had started working for Lips yet. So when I retired, I had been working for, if you guys don't know Lips, it's a drag-themed restaurant in the city. It was kind of the first of its kind. Now we have Hamburger Mary's and a couple other chains, but it was down on Bank Street originally in the Village, and the queens would wait on you. It was really fun. It's been around for 25 years. So this was right after I got hired at Alcone and right before I started at Lips, and it was a lot of fun. It was just a chance to play with color. My friend, who's a photographer, had access to this beautiful backyard, 2 blocks from the Alcone store in Hell's Kitchen, and I was laid out on a picnic table in the middle of the day, and New Yorkers didn't blink.
Wait, like that picture here, this one?
That one, that is the very one. I've always had a thing for swimsuits.
I'm telling you, you're not showing your tuck here, but I'm sure it was a fabulous tuck.
Yeah, it took me a little, we kind of talked about this earlier today when we were just doing our little sort of lighting and sound test, and it did take me a little while to settle on my style of drag, and it was a little campier to begin with, but I definitely sort of settled on the vixen kind of very vampy, sexy, kind of over the top, skimpy outfits. Slutty.
Yeah. Slutty. I want to go back to this one. Talk about, this one looks like you were at a pride float in Iowa.
In Madison, Wisconsin. You're not far off. Yep.
See, I knew it. You know why I know? Because it looks like the ones we had in Hartford too.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that was the first pride that I marched in Madison. That was probably back in '05. 06, and it was just a really fun time. Back then, RuPaul's Drag Race wasn't on the air. It was kind of a big deal to dress up like a lady and walk around in broad daylight. It wasn't such a big thing to do it at gay bars. Drag back then was sort of for gay people, and it wasn't this mainstream thing. But yeah, I do remember that day. It was a really big deal to just be fuck it, I'm just gonna go out there and I'm me.
I love it.
And I'm putting my pantyhose on the back of a trailer.
Always classy.
Yeah.
I want to do it. There's a few more I want to look at. This is fabulous. So I love this shot because of the dichotomy of it. How was it shot, and what? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this was for a local magazine, a gay magazine in Madison. A really good friend of mine runs. He actually lived in New York City for a long time. He moved back to Madison, and then shortly thereafter I moved here to the city. But he's a great guy. He started this great magazine that kind of features local artists and talks about local politics and all sorts of things. And he did a fun little feature on me. He had the great idea actually to shoot. So at the time I worked in a theater as well. That's how I got into makeup. I was a theater pianist, and I did drag on the side, and people were like, oh, you're pretty good with makeup. Why don't you maybe design the makeup for the show you're working on? So this was shot down in one of the theaters that I was working on in the dressing room. And he shot me as a boy. And then I think actually the lighting was so bad down there, I couldn't get ready. So I think I went home and got ready, and then he came back and shot me again.
I love it.
And photoshopped them together.
It's really beautiful. And this one is just everything. Was this a Cher performance, or was this just you giving a new look?
That was kind of in the middle of my career. That was right before I moved away from Madison into the city and kind of like refined my look a little bit. But I was sort of I don't know, it sounds silly, but kind of a big fish in a small pond. And I worked for one of the bigger nightclubs in Wisconsin. And at that point I was doing drag like 5 days a week. And I just booked this great shoot with this photographer. And she captured a great essence. I don't know that the makeup was actually that like, I hadn't really refined my makeup quite yet. So she might have retouched a little bit. But yeah, I had the kind of vampy skinny brows back then, and was a little bit more 70s disco. And then I kind of landed in the early 2000s slutty phase, like you said.
I kind of wanted to see this in color to see if that was MAC chestnut pencil with Frou lipstick.
It's pretty close. Yeah, I think it's a Ben Nye pencil, but it's a dark brown pencil with like a nude lipstick and that white in the middle.
It's awesome. I love it. And then this is getting a little close. This is New York, and this is Lips time, right?
Yeah, this was just a couple years ago, maybe a year or two before I retired. So this was really kind of the look that I settled on, and probably pretty close to what we'll do today. But, you know, a very big cat eye, very sort of snatched brow, a lot of hard lines, but also a lot of blending. I always kind of like to go for that sort of like over the top, but then softened, like push it really far, but then pull it back.
Yeah, and this is also from the same time, and this is around, I can remember the first time I saw you in person, because I unfortunately never got to see you at Lips when you were there. When I saw you full drag was at the Alcone party with 30th, was it the 30th anniversary?
65th.
And oh my God, yeah, what am I talking about? I was just on the, okay, never mind, yeah, 65th anniversary. And I literally was looking at you, and you're like, hey girl, I was like, hi, babe.
You didn't know who I was.
You're fabulous. You look great tonight. And then I was like, oh my fucking God, it's Jake. Like, it is to see you in person with your height and your gorgeousness and the dress and this, it is such a transformation. So I'm so excited to have you take us through that tonight. The last show here is just, I think this was your going away night at Lips, right?
Yes, that was my big retirement.
And that was
Ginger in the background.
And her
15 years doing drag. I was at Lips for about 7.
Okay, all right, good. I was like, because that is an incredible amount of time to wear heels in a restaurant, is all I'm going to say.
Oh my God, and I was one of the only ones who did it. Most of the girls worked in flats, but I refused. I'm only 5'8", so I can't do a flat.
Well, you're also classy, so you want to really make it really special for people.
All
right, so I'm going to shut this so we can get to, if I can figure out how to do it. Yes, I can. Look at me.
My drag name is Davina DeVille, double D if you're nasty. I saw that come through the chat.
All right, wait, I have to try to unshare now. So let me see if I can do that.
And Michael, if it makes you feel any better, Maria, who is my boss at Alcone and one of the owners, also did not recognize me at the 65th. So
that does actually make me feel better. Thank you. That's better.
She was like, who is this drag queen and why is she really like hovering by me? And I was like, Maria, it's me. Oh my God, I work for you. I'm on payroll.
That's amazing. I love it. So, oh, there we go. Stop share. There it goes. Stop share. All right. So we're back. And Jake, I'm going to hand it over to you, and you're going to take us through. And we talked before, and you said, I don't know if people care about the product I'm using. And I'm like, oh no, they care. So if you guys have questions about products Jake's using, and he's just kind of going over and talking about some of the the textures and stuff, jump right in and just, like I said, shoot a note over here or raise your hand, and I'll try to connect you guys, and I'll ask a question, or I will have you guys unmute to do so, okay? So I'm going to hand over you, Jake, and I'm going to shake another cocktail, and I'm just going to sit back. So
I love it. And guys, before I get started, I do just want to tell you, all this stuff that I'm using today, this is my drag kit. This has been my personal drag kit for many, many years. So I am going to be just dipping right into things, and that's because this is all mine, and will never touch another person's face, and hasn't touched my face in quite a while. So don't worry. I know it's COVID time and we're all hypersensitive about sanitation, but all this stuff is me, myself, and I. So don't worry about it. And yeah, let's get started. I'm also not the most technical teacher. Most of the time I'm not like a YouTuber, like this is my, you know, brush with the hand and everything. That's just not me. I'll kind of breeze through what I'm doing and just keep going. So if you have questions, just go ahead and type them to Michael and he'll ask me. And also, this is going to be a quick little cruise through drag makeup because I usually take my time and do about an hour and a half. And Michael was like, try to do it in an hour 15. And I was like, we'll do an hour. Okay, so I'm going to cover my brows. I use glue stick. A lot of folks like to use Pros-Aid, especially like career drag queens because it is waterproof. I just don't have, as you can see, I don't have terribly thick, unruly brows. Also, if you hear jingling, that's my dogs walking around. Don't just have like Christmas bells out. So I'm just gonna kind of brush into them and I sort of go back and forth and really mess them up. If the glue only gets on one side of the hair, it's not going to lay down, they'll pop up later. So you want the glue to coat every side of the hair. And then I just kind of sweep through. And I'm gonna do a couple of coats. If I was really gonna be performing, I'd probably do like 4 or 5 coats, but for tonight's purposes, I think we can get away with 2 or 3. A great tip when you're covering brows, if you are using glue stick, it's water soluble. So you can just keep a Q-tip with a little bit of water, or if you're like me and you're doing it on yourself and you have a rough edge, you can just lick your finger and smooth it down. Obviously, do not do that on a client. That is not recommended sanitation procedure. And I'm gonna grab a powder puff and get a little loose powder ready. I feel like brows are kind of a timing game. You want to wait until they're about 3/4 dry, and I think that's the hardest part when you're learning to block brows, is to just get that timing just right. I've sort of done mine so many times. If you do it too soon, the glue will start to tear. You do want to kind of really press, stretch the skin and press. And if you wait too long, the layers won't sort of become one cohesive layer, and they'll tend to peel up later in the process. You just want them laying down nice and smooth. I'm going to take a powder puff, just an alcone puff with a ton of powder, and I'm going to press and roll that powder on in a very, very thick layer. Really pack it into the glue. How's your cocktail, Michael? I can't hear you. There you are.
I muted myself so you wouldn't hear how many times I was shaking the martini shaker.
What do you have? What's your fancy? Is it a Hendrix?
It is a Hendrix up twist, darling. But I do a grapefruit twist in this time of year. It's nice grapefruit twist. It's lovely. I'll make you one when we're unquarantining.
I usually do. I do like a Hendrix martini. I usually do the grapefruit Bon and Viv, but I grabbed the mango by mistake, and they're honestly pretty.
Oh, cheers! I just want to point out too, Jake, so many times, and you know, when we're doing programs that are editorial focused, or even somebody who is creating a character that has a different brow, like this is such a skill set that every single makeup artist needs to have. It's like a bald cap. Like to know how to do this is such a critical thing. And I think that's a really, it's drag focused, and the drag queens had it down first. But this is such a key skill.
Yeah, it's really important. It comes up a lot, and honestly, practicing on yourself doesn't always work for every type of makeup, but it's great for brow blocking because you can actually feel when the glue is drying, and when you're kind of at that 3/4 point. Because the thing about brow blocking is you could do the best job in the world, but if you mess something up, like it could look super smooth, and then like the minute that someone starts to sweat or crinkle their brow, or maybe you run a rough angle brush over it or something, then all of a sudden all of your hard work is undone, and it's really really hard to come back from. So it is, you're right, it's an important skill. It comes up a lot, and nobody does it better than drag queens because they have to, in 8 pairs of stockings and heels and a wig and everything, twirl around for upwards of 8 hours in a restaurant serving pancakes at brunch, all the while knowing that their brows aren't going to fall off.
So glamorous. The New York drag queen life.
Exactly. Oh my God. I had different expectations. Let me tell you, coming from the Midwest, I was like, oh, there's going to be these great, big, beautiful clubs and like nightlife in New York. Oh my God. Tiny, tiny little bars. I'm going to take my hat off and just let my
Hey, Jake, did you just, you put more glue stick over that first layer of powder, is that right?
Yeah, so I did a couple of layers of glue and swept through it. I powdered, wiped off the excess powder, and then did another layer of glue. And I'm going to do one last one. You can kind of see everything's real smooth. There's no like rough edge. That little powder edge is going to go away later when I smooth foundation over this. So this is really, it's not about color. It's just about getting the texture gone. My friend Trixie Mattel likes to lick the glue stick for the last pass, but I'm not that adventurous. I don't trust Elmer's like that. But she swears that it gives you the smoothest application. Again, not a thing I would recommend for clients. But yeah, you know, drag is really interesting makeup. Drag is not beauty makeup. A lot of people, especially beauty artists, approach it that way the first time they do it. Drag is theater makeup. Beauty makeup is about enhancing someone's features, right? It's about looking at somebody's face and sort of thinking what would the most flattering thing for their face be for this situation, and what style of eye makeup would really suit their eyes. And drag makeup is not that. Drag makeup is about erasing your face and completely starting over and drawing a new one on, and then sort of cheating it to look like it could be beauty makeup. But it is not a beauty makeup. It is closer to Sherwin-Williams. All right, and I feel pretty good about that. I've got one tiny little edge. I'm just gonna take a Q-tip with a little bit of water on it. Got one little snag right here. There we go, and it just melts away. Okay. Perfect. All right, and then I'm just going to take a layer of really, really thick concealer for the color. I'm using the Kevin Aquan Sensual Skin Enhancers. This is number 2, I believe. And the reason that I use this is because I do not even have to worry about neutralizing. Granted, I'm kind of dirty blonde, so I don't have like black eyebrows that I'd have to, I mean, then you could go in with the color corrector. And I know some folks do, but for me, this is gonna be enough to just knock all of that color out. Turn the light down a little bit. There we go. You guys can see. Take a beauty blender and just kind of dab at the excess product. Actually, this is not even a beauty blender. This is some off-brand blender that I got backstage at the Badgley Mishka show with Miss Mary Irwin.
Oh, she's name dropping.
Yes, girl. That was the real drag.
Oh,
that was a great show, actually. Viziart sponsored that show, along with Alcone. So Anastasia was there. It was a really fun show. There we go. Not too bad. Just do a little bit.
If you made that darker, you'd look like Eugene Levy.
Yeah, you know, drag is funny. It's like, it looks crazy until the last 20 minutes. Like, it really does look like you're getting ready to like walk out for the Lion King or something. And you just sort of have to trust the process. But
I know you just didn't you didn't like reference a Broadway show to me, did you? Because you know I had only half a martini so far, but if I start busting out Lion King, it's all your fault.
Circle of Life. That was one of our closers at Lips Broadway brunch.
Was it?
Yeah, Ginger would. She would go in the back. You can see it in that picture of my last performance. Ginger is in full Lion King drag, and then one of the girls was about 7'2" out of heels. Ginger would come down the aisle. She'd be doing the whole thing. The girls would all be dressed up with like headdresses of animals. And then one of the girls who was super tall would pick her up and put her on her back and carry Ginger. She's tiny, she's like 5'4", to the front, and she'd pull a little lion cub out of her costume. And it truly was, I mean, it brought the house down every single time. Even people who had seen it like 20, 30 times.
Sounds a little Leigh Bowery, but like reverse. Like instead of like birthing someone on stage, giving you like lioness.
Yeah, we always said that Broadway brunch at Lips, it wasn't off Broadway, it wasn't off Broadway, it was like something you'd see in a community center in Connecticut.
I beg your pardon, excuse me, there's a lot of Connecticutites on this call right now.
So they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Including moi.
Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with my TV paint stick. If you guys know Krylon TV paint stick. The reason that I really like this product for drag is that I don't really have to do a beard block. I'm not like a super hairy guy, but I do have kind of a bluish tint to my facial hair. So even though I got a very close shave, I'm always gonna have a little bit of that tone. But the 2W happens to be pretty close to my skin tone, and it's a little bit peachy, and it just knocks it out. And because it's in a stick, again, this is mine, so I can just like shellac it right on, and it's gonna cover all of that texture, all of that bluish tone. And for whatever reason, the LED lights make this look like crazy lighter than my skin. This actually does, this is the exact foundation I had in all the pictures that you saw. It does read as pretty close to my skin once it's blended in and in real light, but these ring light situations really get you. And when I do take clients that want drag makeup, I actually, I really don't like working with brushes for the foundation. I really like the way that it applies with this stick. So I will have them come into a store and purchase the stick as like part of their consult because I just like the way it applies. This one's by Christopher Buckle. I don't know, it blends well. It's got a good beigey tone to it. It's really not that technical. I'm just kind of dotting it on everywhere. And then I'm going to take a slightly lighter one down my neck. Do a lot of people get asked to do drag makeup for, a lot of you guys get asked like around Halloween. I know I always get a ton of inquiries around Halloween.
Just for fun, physically hold your hand up in front of the screen if you have either done drag makeup before or have had to do it on someone else, or who's done drag before, done drag makeup. So we've got, I would say we have about 20 people who've done some drag makeup. Which
fun.
Is awesome.
So they know it's like, it's a hard, the thing about drag makeup, it's difficult, it's time consumptive, and you use a lot of product. So I always tell people, like, if you're getting asked to do a drag makeup for Halloween, make sure you're charging appropriately for that. Like, make sure you're not, you know, busting that out for 75 or $100 because it is going to take you longer than a skull, and you're going to use a lot more product.
Hey, Jake, we have, Zach has a question. Zach, you can unmute yourself. Oh, I can unmute you. Did you have a question, Zach? Or did you actually?
Me?
Well, you raised your hand, Zach.
Yeah, I wanted to say, like, yeah, when we first started our Mr. Eyeliner brand, our big influence was drag because I was been best friends with Michael T. We used to do the motherfucker parties, and what really inspired me in the beginning to start a all individuals brand was the fact that like everybody comes together in the drag scene. Yeah, I used to go to Lips all the time with so many friends, and two of my friends that used to be drag queens at Lips became like master mixologist now. So yeah, Jake, man, I can't wait to see you when this is all over and tell you all these stories. But you are amazing as an artist. I hope that one day I can learn as great as you do to teach people like how to become a great drag artist with makeup. You know.
Do you know some of the girls who have been there like a long time, like Ariel? Do you know Ariel Sinclair?
Yeah, and one of my good friends, Venus. If you ever met Venus, or like if you ever met Twig the Wonder Kid, like these are people I grew up with, and they taught me so much about the drag industry.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah, it's kind of a storied old place in New York. Like not everybody knows about it, but a lot of people, like all the Malarty girls, the owners of Alcon, all of them celebrated their Sweet 16s there. Totally, you know, unbeknownst to me and before my time, but it's kind of like a storied New York tradition.
It absolutely is. And I'm going to say real quick, I missed the days. I wish you were in New York, the days of the original Lit days, the original Bowery days, like, you know, when Lady Gaga first started, Stephanie and all these great people, they would have loved you. And I know that you'd be such a great makeup artist for all these great souls.
Oh, you're so
very
sweet.
Zach. Thank you. I'm going to mute Zach, but I'm going to say, I think our next session with Jake should be him doing Zach in drag, but I don't know. We can figure that out at another time. I mean, I just think
that sounds like a lot of fun. Between our two nightlife backgrounds, I don't know if we'd get any makeup done. We'd just be talking.
Yeah, knowing you and Zach, I think you're both right.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just highlight. I feel pretty good about this level of coverage. As you can see, the beard blueness has pretty much disappeared.
Jake, how free? Because if you're working on a full day at Lips, let's say, and you're doing a brunch, like we just had a session with Debbie Zoller, and she was talking about Mad Men, and that they had to shave them twice a day to maintain that on a long shoot. How long can you get away with that coverage after you freshly shaved? Did you just shave before the session?
I did, yeah. I did twice, actually. I shaved once with the grain of the hair and once against to really get a super, super close shave. So brunch was a double shift. We would do 2 brunches. This is the Kevin, again, this is the same product. And that was about, we would get there at 10 in the morning and we would leave around 7. And that includes getting ready and getting out of drag. So it was a 9-hour day. Once in a while, I would stay and work the night shift that night. So we'd have a gap in between to eat dinner, and then we'd work the celebrity impersonation shift. And that was a long day. I usually would not shave again. Some of the girls would. They'd just wipe their makeup off, like from here down, shave, and keep all the eye makeup on and stuff. But again, the thing I love about the TV paint stick, it's so buildable and so like heavy and waxy. I could just take it and like shellac another layer on. And you couldn't honestly, I mean, especially like Lips is pretty dark, you know, if you're in, if I was out during the day, maybe you'd be able to see a little something poking through, but because it was dark under stage lights and stuff, you could pretty much get away with it. But yeah, definitely partway through the day, you'd start to get a 5 o'clock shadow coming through. And that's not a cute look. That's when they start behind the bar. They're like, play dude looks like a lady. I was so sad I missed the Debbie thing. I didn't realize I had another, I RSVP'd and then I realized I had another Zoom scheduled. How was it? She's so amazing.
It was fantastic. She's such a generous human, but such a great educator in that she really just kind of speaks from the heart, and she's, you know, shoots from the hip. She doesn't hold anything back. We hold names back, of course. We don't talk about people at TPG, at least not to the, you know, not on camera. But we definitely want to. She shares so much information, and she really, I think that one of the things that's really interesting is, as our members know, like I try to make sure we understand how does this affect everybody, not just like how does this makeup you're doing, Jake, affect a bridal makeup artist and a production person for TV and film. And with Debbie, I think that there's so many pieces to it that translate into other things with period makeup, like bridal and everything, and editorial, and so many, and celebrity and the Met Gala. So I think that it's a really nice. She's really awesome insofar as she's able to really. Communicate in a way that is easily understandable. And, you know, makeup artists who are craftsmen sometimes don't execute verbally very well,
Right.
and some do. And Debbie's one of those who do. So it was really wonderful. It was great. I'm sad you missed it, but
I love her designs.
put
Foxy
everything.
Ferdin.
I was just going to say, I think we're going to put everything on a private YouTube space so that people can go back in.
How fun.
Pro. So we're going to do that too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got my start as a theater pianist. So those were some of my favorite shows were Candor and Ebb. I loved working on all those. Chicago, and they had a really fun review, and The World Goes Round. I loved a good Sondheim show, I still do. But yeah, her designs were just so spot on for the period. Like she somehow makes them feel super updated, but also like you're looking straight back into the past. I'm just gonna grab my, oh, here it is, my palette, there we go. So this is just a palette that I made up of cream, blushes, contours, highlights, things like that. I've already done my foundation and highlight, and as you saw, I really just like stripe it. It's not like super specific. I just stripe it through the high points of the face and blend, blend, blend. You will recognize that technique from all of the YouTubers who have stolen it from drag queens, as they all do it as well. And I'm just gonna go into this palette. It's Mayron Cream Blend, which comes in a stick, but I've just sort of depotted it into palette, and I'm gonna start contouring. I have what they call lovingly a 5 head. So I'm gonna start up at my temples, and Tyra Banks both. And just kind of make like a light bulb shape just to close that in. This is part contouring, and this is also part to sort of soften that transition into the wig. If you don't do this, like even if you have a small forehead, but you don't contour the forehead for drag, the transition into the wig is gonna be really, really abrupt. So I, almost regardless of whether or not someone needs it, I pretty much always do this. To an extent, it differs from face to face. And I have no idea what brush I'm using because it's so old that every marking is completely rubbed off. I do tend to leave this line pretty sharp and sort of fade it upwards, which I'll do in a minute with the Beauty Blender. I don't go all the way to the corner of the mouth. I could if I wanted to go that extreme. The reason I don't is because it gets a little Jim Henson-y when you're lip syncing. All of a sudden it looks like your bottom jaw is disconnected and like, but I mean, it's a stylistic choice. That's the fun thing about drag. It's like if you want to do that sort of crazy hard, you know, like I said, I'm friends with Trixie Mattel, and she would do a ballad with that crazy makeup on, and it worked because she was so committed to it.
Jake, talk to us a little bit. You know, you've been doing this for a while, and you said before, and you know, this was pre RuPaul's Drag Race. RuPaul's Drag Race changed the game, changed perspective. Drag queens back in Hartford and Wisconsin and Ohio and Los Angeles and New York were very specific. They looked like drag queens. They were Lady Bunny and Coco and Sherry Vine, and they were characters. Right. And now there's such a different energy with people like Miss Fame and Kim Chi, where there's characters, but there's also a style and a fashion and an energy to it. What are some of the differences that you see in the way drag makeup is applied, and I don't want to sound like James, applied, maintained, but how do you designed, applied, and sort of created as characters? Because there is a stylization to it. Miss Fame changes her look all the time, like anyone of a fashion background would, but there's still glamour to it. How do you see drag having changed in the last 10, 15 years?
Yeah, you know, a lot of it's changed culturally. It's certainly more mainstream now. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, one of the great things about, you know, Drag Race and drag being so mainstream is that, you know, it used to be kind of weird. Like, honestly, like if you were a drag queen, people sort of assumed that you were a drug dealer or knew a drug dealer, or like maybe you were a sex worker, or maybe you were, you know, it just had these connotations that were a little more underground and seedy, which wasn't always a bad thing. I mean, you know, I don't know, some people were. I certainly was not. I was just a college kid who liked to play dress up. But that connotation, that sort of undergroundness was always there, and that's gone away. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's great to normalize self-expression and you know, doing whatever you want to do, and like many makeup artists identify with, you know, maybe taking a non-traditional path through life and making a living at it. The downside is that it's sort of commodified it as well. So there is sort of like a stamped on RuPaul's Drag Race face a little bit, and not everybody has it. You know, Miss Fame is a makeup artist, and she does such a beautiful, she's actually done my makeup once. I did not send you that picture because I don't want it compared to what I do on my own face. But you know, there is a little bit of that, like they're all starting to look the same, and it's become a highly commodified thing. So there's a push and a pull to it. Overall, I think it's great. I like the direction that things are moving in. But you also have to remember, like with a lot of drag queens, makeup is pretty utilitarian. It's not necessarily about artistry. I mean, that is how I got into makeup, because I was that girl that, like, everybody else would get ready in 45 minutes and they'd just be done. They'd be like, can we just get to the part where we're actually doing the thing on the stage? And I could just sit back there forever, just painting and playing with costumes and stuff. That part was almost more fun to me. But for a lot of drag queens, makeup is really like not necessarily like a super fun or creative part of it. They just do the same face, and it's just getting into like almost a uniform. Side note, this is why I love beauty blenders. I don't use beauty blenders a whole lot for beauty makeup necessarily, but if you can see, like just being able to sit here and tap, like I literally went from having Lion King stripes on my face to a fairly blended moment.
Hey Jake, Lindsay asked is your blender wet or dry while you're using it?
Wet, always wet for blending, always wet. Because they puff up, and what they do, they have this like micro textured surface, and what it does without you realizing it is it's picking up and then redistributing the makeup. So it's just taking all that excess and then just sort of like bouncing it around and blurring it, almost like a pointillism or something.
Yeah.
And it just does your work really fast.
I had another question from Michelle Smith. Did you use a different color for the cheek as opposed to the contour?
A little. The forehead, I went a little taupier on my head, and I went a little deeper on the cut part of the cheek. And then I went really pretty soft on my jaw here. I have a pretty sharp jaw, and there's no really getting around it. No matter how round I paint it, you can still see the bone structure there, so I just don't really try to fake it. But yeah, I mean, I could have used all one color. There's no rule to it. It's just about heightening the shadows and the light. And then I'm just going to take the beauty blender that had my highlight on it and just sort of like any little schmutz, just kind of clean up and tap out, kind of fade the areas around the mouth, tap that highlight back in. All right, contour my nose quick. I think this is one where people get like a little shaky. They're like, oh God, I gotta do the nose. And I don't know, just go crazy, have fun with it. Like I do a super, super dramatic pinched nose for drag. I would never contour a human's nose like this. But
I love that you refer to yourself as not human when you're doing drag.
Oh, there's nothing human about, yeah, no, like this is not like a human being. A human being sits and puts glue in their makeup routine. Yeah, it's like an alien. But I like a really pinched, I just find that with like the super sharp winged liner and the like really bitchy brow that I do, that it just, a really pinched nose works. I could soften it, I could blend it a lot, but it's a style choice more than a like right or wrong. Because you could take all of these concepts and you could just blend the heck out of it. You wouldn't have to do that sharp line. You could just blend all of this and have a really, really soft look. And honestly, a lot of this is essentially like what Instagrammers, like, they're not even borrowing from, like, they're literally doing drag makeup. Which is crazy to me to think of walking around like this every day. This is great for a nightclub or something, but.
I think that's a really interesting point you made, Jake. And, you know, I'm of the mindset that someone who loves makeup artistry should find their inspiration wherever they find their inspiration. And if James Charles is that person, go for it, be inspired, but understand the difference between what a makeup artist does in their role as a makeup artist and what an influencer does to sell their palette. And I think that that's we're all getting it. We know it as a community, especially thank you to our TPG Pro community, because you guys get it more than anybody. But I think that there's an understanding now, even in the consumer world, that this is for fun. And then when I just want to look pretty, I just want to look pretty. So I love that you noted that. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's amazing. I think that it's super inspirational. And, you know, someone like James Charles or someone like our friend Raja Sutan, they change the perspective of people about what it is to be pretty as a boy, what it is to look beautiful in makeup. So I think that's incredible, but I also think it's important for us to continue that journey and that messaging, that what that is. And you said it's drag makeup. I didn't. I want everyone to know that the powder does not stand behind anything Jake Aebly is saying. Jake Aebly is on his own person.
It's drag makeup.
It is drag makeup. Let's be honest. It's drag makeup, and that goes for men and women and transgenders. Anybody who is doing makeup in that level of drama is really doing a drag makeup. And I think that as we look at it as a community, we know it, but I think it's important for the consumer market to start to understand it too. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you know, and I don't say it to denigrate it at all. I love it. It's just about knowing where it comes from. You know, there are people, like, I've worked with Amanda Lepore. I've hung out with Amanda Lepore. She really does walk around like she's head to toe made up, literally every inch of skin. And sometimes you see all of it, and it's all made up. But that's her life. It's more about knowing that, like, as a makeup artist, as you're training, like, this style of makeup is only going to pay your bills once in a while. Like, yeah, this comes in handy around Halloween and certainly when I want to express myself and perform, but I mostly do commercials and you have to know the push and the pull and know, you know, like, if you approach every makeup like this, you're going to be stuck pretty quick. I feel pretty good about that. I'm just going to sharpen this up a little more, and then I'm going to powder this and start to move on.
I just want to mention there's like 45 comments about how incredible your blending skills are. So thank you for teaching us blending.
That is very sweet. I swear it's the stinking beauty blenders. These things are like matte. Before I had these, I would sit there forever with a brush and just, you know, like, they're just, all you have to do is just tap. They're so great. And I get why some folks don't really need them for, I do like them for beauty makeup though, and I'll tell you why. I don't need them really for blending, but they're great at sort of rejuvenating a makeup that's been on a face for 8 or 10 hours. Like, if you take this and a little setting spray, a little Scandinavia, a little moisturizer, something like that, and tap it back in, you can really bring a makeup back to life that's sort of gotten a little bit dusty and you don't maybe have time to totally reapply. But yeah, that's that really, I like that very snatched nose. Great, Let's powder. I'm just going to use Rcma no color powder. Nothing fancy. It works. Hey, babe, will you give me another one of these? No. But I love you. Oh, but first
girl.
I'm going to
keep them going. Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
But first I'm going to dust under my eyes. This doesn't exist. This is a powder that I made up. It's Ben Nye Super White and some sparkly Rcma powder and a flesh tone powder that I had in no color, and it's a bunch of stuff. But it's basically just an under eye setting powder. And I do just always give a quick last little tap.
Hey, Jake, Blythe wants to know if it was Rcma powder on the brows as well. Was that Kevin or Rcma?
Rcma, yep. Pretty much everything I use in my kit is, for drag is old school theater and film makeup. So Rcma, Ben Nye, Krylon, Mayron. Really one of the only fancy things. I mean, I have some Danessa stuff, and I've got the Kevin, and maybe like a couple fancy liquid lips, but I don't really stock a lot of luxury products because it's not about that. It's about color payoff and performance and long wear. It's not, nobody's going to see the packaging.
Jake, another question while you're doing that. Zach had a question about when you're working on someone else, when you're doing someone's makeup.
Yeah.
And it's this dramatic, whether it's drag makeup or just really transformational. What do you do with regard to removal? How do you teach them how to remove that makeup? Because it's not the same thing as just washing your face.
Yeah, you know, drag isn't so bad, especially if I'm using the Prozade cream, then I wrap it into my feet to give them a little thing of bond off. I teach them about it. I let them know not to let it sit on their skin for too long. But if it's glue stick, soap and water, I let them know to take an oil cleanser. A lot of my clients who want to be put in drag are not maybe the same people who have a 7-step skin routine. So, you know, letting them know like, hey, if you're having trouble like getting through all the makeup, even a little bit of olive oil or coconut oil or something will soften it up. You know, just understanding that, you know, not everyone's going to have like my sort of like double cleansing, toning, da-da-da routine. So I kind of tailor it to the client. It depends, but definitely if there's anything that needs a special remover, that's always provided by me, because that's the thing, like drag makeup, it's not like a bride. I'm not with them all day. I'm not babysitting them. It's like do their makeup, send them out into the world, go, bye, have fun. Don't get too crazy, you know? So it's about preparing them, but also, you know, I mean, most people are asking to get in drag so that they can go out and get really drunk on Halloween.
You know,
I usually recommend that they, go ahead.
Is that I'm not much of a drinker, so I don't really know what that
Yeah,
means.
you wouldn't know about that.
No. Quick question, and I'm not plugging a brand that we work with because we work with them, but I've had a couple of our friends who are in the production world in TV and film using the new Scandinavia, the makeup remover spray. Does that take off the glue stick and anything else? Or?
Yeah, because it's got that oiliness to it. I'm not going to pretend that I know the ingredients right off the top of my head, but it does have that slick kind of oiliness to it that will cut through glue stick for sure. I've definitely used it for that.
Cool.
And I'm not just going to, this is where this old like beating the face term comes from, because that's what you would literally do, is you would beat your face. I'm not going to coat my entire face in powder. I'm going to sort of like do the center, and then I guess I find like where I really want intensity, like right here at the back of the cheekbone, if I totally powder that, it's not going to take shadows and color and stuff as well later. So I just let the little bit of powder when I'm dusting off catch it. That might be just a me thing. That might be more in my head than anything else. You do have to powder the heck out of a drag makeup though, because you can always add shiny things later to like give the illusion of a dewiness or a wetness, but you can't actually leave something dewy or wet it will not hold up as thick as, you know, all of this is. It'll crease, it'll crepe, it'll wipe on their outfit, so you really do have to, I mean, this is a lot more powder than you would use for beauty. All right, and I'm just gonna take a big ol' dense powder brush and dust it off. Some folks really will leave the under eye. This is where baking comes from, you know, that leaving your under eye powder on there to sit forever. It originally was not intended to really like set the concealer. It was to catch your fallout. Because for drag, you use a lot of black, you use a lot of glitter, a lot of sparkly stuff. So it really was just to catch fallout, so you didn't have to clean up later. I don't tend to have a ton of fallout with the way that I do my makeup now, unless I'm doing something really smoky. So I don't always leave it on there super thick, but I'll leave a little bit. That is where that comes from. Right, not too bad. I'm gonna go in with a Ben Nye contour powder. Contour number 2.
Hey Jake, you use a lot of, I'm gonna call them the OG brands like Krylon and Ben Nye and Mayron. Is there anything about those brands specifically that actually work best for drag, or is it just something you become accustomed to over the years?
Well, I think it's what I started with, because it's what, I mean, that's the thing about drag, is like you learn it from other drag queens. So a lot of towns and cities don't have a pro makeup shop like Alcone or Cinema Secrets or something like that. They just have a costume shop that might sell a little bit of Mayron or Graftobian. Graftobian actually is based in Madison, Wisconsin. I did not learn that until after I moved away. But Eric, the guy who owns it, is lovely. So part of it was that, but it's also just like, it works. It's high impact. It's a lot of color. I'm not like, you know, I love, of course, my beauty kit is full of Viseart because it's so blendable and it's so soft and it's so photographed so beautifully. This is about get color on fast, and a lot of it. So it's, I don't want to have to sit there forever building up color. And I'm not super fussy about putting on my drag makeup. It's not like get everything like clean. I can always come back and fix something later, but things are gonna get big and overtaken by other things pretty quickly. So I don't have to be super careful or fussy, and it's more about getting it on. Again, an unlabeled brush that I've had for 1,000 years. The paint is all coming off.
Hey Jake, we have another question from Ava Bombico, and she asked something about rates. And I think this is a really important question, because while we can say, you know, if a bridal client has a full back tattoo and an open back dress and she wants it covered, it's going to take 2 hours to do that. So we can rate that. How do you price drag makeup?
Personally, I live in New York City. Personally, I am not showing up to do someone's drag makeup for like under $400. And if they want me to touch their wig and put that, like I've had clients who want me to glue their wig on and cinch them into their outfit, and that's fine. It's just the price goes up from there. You know, whereas like my regular do and go rate to just show up and do like a quick beauty makeup on someone is probably closer to like $250. It's just, like I said, it's a lot of product, it's a lot of work, and I spend a lot of time getting good at it. So if they want to go with someone cheaper, that's fine, because honestly, I've done 1,000 drag makeups. I'm not really dying to do, it's fine, I don't mind doing them, but it's not like I'm like dying to like spread my wings and do more drag makeups. So if they want to pass, that's fine. I just let them know that right up front, because it's a long makeup and it takes a lot of stuff.
Would you comparatively to, let's say, a beauty makeup, let's say you have a client who's going to an event, and I'm making a number up, it's $100.
Okay.
Proportionally to that $100, the amount of effort in drag makeup, what is the difference in price that you would suggest for something that is so transformational?
You know, at least like 1.5 to 2 times the price, because it's just, again, you're going to be there for a while. You might even want, if it's your first time, I'd probably recommend doing a trial. Just throwing some bronzer in to just sort of zhuzh things out.
I've always wondered, how do you spell zhuzh?
Zhuzh, that's a great question. I'm going to go with J-Z-U-S-Z, because it reminds me of Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Oh, all right. Oh, not gay at all.
But can you guys kind of see just how I've got my face sort of blocked out right now? Nice sharp contour, much softer on the jaw, but a little bit. And when I'm not so close to the camera, I feel like the powder doesn't quite glow the same. So, but it is still quite bright in here, and that's because I'm going to have a lot of eye makeup on very shortly. That's going to knock a lot of that down. Zhuzh. Yeah, that's an old dance one. I would always hear that from choreographers when I was a pianist. They'd be like, babe, just zhuzh that up. I'd be like, I don't know what that means, but okay, I'll just play it different and see what you do. Anyone want to say hi to my little dog? Come here, baby.
Yes.
They're so used to daddy and drag that they don't even flinch.
Oh,
hi, little bow tie. This is Bob. Good boy, Bob. Go to bed. Okay, all right. Should we get into some eyes? Okay, so I'm gonna go back with my same cream palette. A lot of people like to sort of carve out eye shapes with pencils. I do not recommend that, and especially if you haven't done this type of makeup a lot, and there's a reason. The glue is very prone to tearing. So even though, you know, my brow is super, super blocked, and you don't see any edges of the glue or anything, once you start dragging a pencil or something like that across it, it's just gonna rip it up. Unless you've got like a super, super soft pencil or you've got a really light touch. I've seen people do it. I can do it when I'm in practice, but I just prefer to take like a little angle brush and some cream makeup. And then what I'm gonna do is, again, I'm sort of drawing a new face on, so I'm gonna carve out a new crease, a new orbital socket, and it's gonna start in that nose contour. I'm gonna sort of open up a little space here to sort of brighten the eye, and then I'm gonna wrap it back down. And the reason I do this with cream makeup first, I could just do this with shadow. It would take forever to build up the color intensity. And the other reason is if I mess up, cream is a lot easier to fix, to zhuzh, Michael. Is everyone watching like a lot of like videos right now? How are people staying busy during this very trying time?
I'll answer on their behalf. They're tuned into all of our TPG online.
Yes, of course they are.
Thank you. That's all. That's all they're doing.
That's amazing. Their children must be so hungry. So yeah, if you can see, I've sort of drawn a new crease, whereas like my original crease, so to speak, is kind of like here. And that's probably where we do a beauty makeup, but I've given this sort of lifted, and I'm gonna blend it a lot. But it's just about creating space and creating contrast, dark to light. Right, and that way it's not so different than like a Danny Sands body paint or something. It's just about drawing the eye to the things you want to see and away from the things you don't. And so if you have a great big Adam's apple, which I really don't, but if you do, draw their eyes up here. I always say this is true. I've said this about drag for many years. people would be like, how do you pick out heels? Like, what do you, be like, babe, if they're looking at your shoes, then you didn't do any of this right. Like, nobody cares what shoes you're wearing. Is James in here yet? I know he was going to join us a little late.
He did join us for, I think he's still here. Let me see if he's here still. He had, as James does, he had a few things going on tonight because he is the master. He was with us before. Let me see if he's still here.
He likes to have a lot of fires in the kitchen.
Well, the fires are candles, and they're from Rebels and Outlaws.
Yeah.
Rebelsandoutlaws.com.
And if you're out of hand sanitizer, pro tip, they still have it. So,
exactly.
Although you're getting the cinema secret, so you don't need it.
I think the more hand sanitizer you can have these days, the better. And I'm so grateful that so many of our brands are doing such good stuff for our community. It's really great.
Yeah, it's lovely to see. There's been so many, I don't know if you guys know, but B3, Julia Dalton Brush obviously is the TPG Pro. She's been donating product skincare to frontline healthcare workers. So if you stock up or if you want to buy something for, like I bought a few things for a couple of friends who had birthdays during this time, she'll match that. I believe she was matching whatever you bought and sending it to someone, which is really, really incredible. I can't even imagine.
She was on with us before as well. And I've gotten so many messages tonight saying, I can only stay for an hour. I can only stay for half an hour because I've got fucking Zoom, man. I'm going to start a TPG Zoom schedule so everybody can know when everything's going on. So we're not overscheduling each other because we have so much amazing content that not me, everybody in the industry, that like Julia and James and the makeup show and Danessa, and I just want to make sure we can all experience it. So we're going to try to figure some way out that we end up not any way overlapping each other. But thank you for saying that, Jake, because I think what Julia's doing is amazing for her brand and for also for the community of pros, but then for the first responders and the nurse community. And it's absolutely mind-blowing. Very generous.
She is a sweetheart. So I'm going to go ahead and set that with some shadow. Just a nice dark brown. I'll use Ben Nye. Why not? Good old Ben Nye. It doesn't let you down. And even though like these are not perfectly symmetrical, there's a little wiggle right here. It's just not going to matter. I know that when I do my liner, it's going to cover all that stuff. So that's why I say, like with drag, like you kind of just got to keep moving and keep going. If you sit and try to fuss with every little detail forever, that person is never going to get out of your chair. And honestly, a lot of it's just not going to matter because it's going to get covered by a giant 301 lash or, you know, some glitter that you're going to slap down at the end or a huge wing liner or whatever. So just keep it moving.
Jake, while you're blending, I'm just going to mention before, I know Abby has another Zoom as well. She has to jump on. And I finally got permission. I messaged her tonight and I said, I didn't mention you because I didn't hear back from you, but Avi Nishman is the 5th of our TBG Pro for Pro sessions. So it's going to be Aga Rose, Juan Jose, Avi Nishman, Bethany Towns, and Joe Delude. That's going to be in July, and I'm super excited about that. So thank you, Avi, and Jose, and everybody who's doing that. And also, Stephanie Flores with us right now, and I'm going to take this moment while you're blending.
Stephanie.
Blending. And Stephanie Flores from Around the World Beauty, she has her session with us, which you guys are going to be blown away. It's amazing. Next week, so on the 29th. So stay tuned and make sure you keep in contact because one of the things we're trying to do is make sure that we're creating, as we always do, a 360-degree approach to what we do as pros and as artists. We've got so much other cool stuff, hair, art, business, so much stuff coming up. So stay tuned. But Avi, before you have to sign off, I just want to say thank you for being a part of that because all of our pros love you, and we are so excited about that. And I believe that Scandinavia, Deb Millie, I think you're here. I think Scandinavia is going to be one of the sponsors of that. So that's kind of kick-ass because we love Scandinavia. And I swear to God, I did not see Deb on before, but now she's on. So we love you guys, and thank you and Alan for all your support. And I'm going to pass it back to Jake.
Hi, Abby. Hi, Deb. I love you both. I miss you both. I usually see you guys. It's normally trade show season. You know, honestly, that's been one of the harder things is like, it sucks to not like go out to our favorite neighborhood restaurants and stuff like that, but just like normally I'd be packing up a bunch of trade shows right now and going to see all my friends from all over the country. So that is a little tricky, but we'll get there. We will. We just have to be patient. All right, so I'm gonna move on and do some brows. I'm gonna go back to that exact same cream palette that I've been using the entire time and sketch out my brow first in cream and then just set it with a shadow. I just use kind of a taupey blonde. I usually do blonde. I was always a redhead when I first started. And then at some point I switched to blonde and everybody was happy to tell me that it was my color and that I had been wrong all along about the red hair. But I sort of start in the crease and the sort of nose contour crease melange there, and then take it out. And I always do the bottom line of the brows first to get them nice and even and squared away, and then do the rest. Yeah, so it's just cream and powder, right? Like glue powder, foundation powder. I just find this the most forgiving way to work. You're doing something really exaggerated like this. And this is way above my natural brow. But again, I have a lot of forehead space, so I can support it. Blend, 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 blend.
Is that my cue to ask you more questions?
Yeah, go for it.
I have to tell them that I'm not interrupting Jake. Jake said a lot of this is like me just doing repetitive motion. So ask me questions. And now like I feel like I keep interrupting him and you guys think I just want to talk. But that was our discussion. So I'm just gonna let him talk now. I'm gonna finish making my
I did ask him to interrupt me because I'm just really not that teacher that's like, and now I do this and now I do, like I just do it. Because the thing about makeup is like everyone does it differently. Like I know a lot of drag queens that don't work with cream at all. They hate it. They do everything in powder. I can't imagine working like that. It's just not how I learned. But it's not such a precious makeup. Like as long as the end result looks good, it doesn't really matter how you got there. So you could do all this stuff. You could cheat it with liquids. You could use different products. It's more about the act of transforming someone's face into something totally different so that when you run into your good friend Michael DeVellis at a party in the men's room, he doesn't recognize you because you're in a ball gown with a bunch of foxtails on.
Why did you take it to the men's room? That's awesome.
Well, you left that detail out, but that seemed pertinent to the story. That is, I believe, where you first made the connection of who I actually was. You were like, oh, she's in here. Oh, she's him.
I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just muting myself right now.
Tony Tolve is cackling somewhere in New Jersey. So I'm just taking a darker brown. I'm actually mixing like 2-3. I'm not really being precious or fussy. Just to darken the tail and sort of ombre it. And I usually just sweep the brow straight into my hairline. I sort of take it way out like that. Same thing on the other side. And again, I'm not gonna worry, like if I have any little squiggles, it's not a big deal because I can come back and clean that up at the end really easily. I'll teach you guys next how to do a cut crease, which is way easier than it looks. That is also an old drag trick. All right, and then I'm just going to take my beauty blender that has a little bit of my highlight still on it. I'm just going to tap the front of all of this out. Take that sharpness away so it's not so blocky. Give it the quote unquote ombre effect. It's so strange doing makeup to a camera. All right, and then we can redarken that with a little shadow. Good. Okay, cut crease. So I've already done actually the crease part. I've already sort of darkened everything. So I'm going to go in with this Makeup Forever Aqua XL paint and do the cutting. And it's not as dramatic or difficult as it sounds. It always looks really hard to get that sharp line, but it's actually like a reverse painting thing. So you already have the shadow there, and then you go in with the light color, the highlight, and you brighten, and this is where you get your crisp edge. I just use a little flat brush because I can really get a nice, crisp, clean line. Stuff is so sturdy. It's an incredible eyeshadow base.
That looks like that little cute, that's that little cute highlight Scott does for J-Lo.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Scott, hey, some of that Scott makeup gets pretty painty pretty fast. Like he blends it, he really, really blends it, but she's in a lot of makeup. This might be a little more. And then I'll just take that inside corner and kind of buff it down so it just disappears. Voila, the crease has been cut. Not so hard, right?
Hey, Jake, we have another question from Rachel Massa, and she wants to know about thick brows. Yours are really thin. Mine are non-existent. Like your brows are 10 times thicker than mine. I have no brow. Any tricks for getting them to lay down with glue stick or other things?
Prozade cream, not the liquid, but the cream form. And you want to take a spoolie, comb it through them, and then as it starts to set, as it kind of oxidizes and dries, slowly roll the spoolie, through, so that they're laying, instead of laying flat down like I put mine, so that they're laying basically straight up. And that will, a couple of layers of that and a couple of layers of powder, it'll prevent them from sort of curling in on themselves and getting unruly, so that you really want brows to be sticking as much as possible to skin. You don't want them to be sticking to other hair, because hair is a very smooth surface. Skin is much more textured for most of us who aren't models.
Is there a timing difference with regard to how long you wait before you put the powder over it when you're using the Prozade cream?
It takes a little longer with Prosade cream, but it'll go from like a milky white to sort of a clear. And that's your cue for when it's ready. Okay, I'm gonna set that with a little eyeshadow. And for that, I'm gonna use, oh, I don't have my Cosette palette. I normally would use Cosette, but I don't see it, so I'm just gonna use Ben Nye again. And I'll darken these brows up with the same palette. We're getting there. Like I said, it's in the last, it goes from a crazy, like almost like high concept makeup to coming together all at once. All right, not too bad. I am going to powder these brows. And then I'll move on to liner. Liner makes a really, really big difference for drag makeup. Really, really big difference. And I'm just going over the cream that I had already put down and just sort of darkening, fading, setting. Some nice cool ashy tones. Tony Tolve likes to joke that my drag makeup is 50 shades of beige. He's still here. And it's true, it is. I mean, I can do colorful drag makeup, it's just not the first thing that occurs to me. Take a nice espresso color out to the tail. Good. Should we tell people about our little contest idea?
Go for it.
People are following along. So Michael and I thought it might be fun and a little way for Alcone to sort of give back, because you can find all these products at Alcone, and we are still shipping right now. If you guys want to join in and do a little drag transformation on yourselves, on your husband, on your boyfriend, on your roommate, on your dog. No, not on your dog. Don't do that. That's cruel. But if you wanted to do that in the next week, we could have a little contest. If you want to put it in the Powder Group Pro Facebook page and tag it. What should we tag it?
Let's tag it. Drag. Let's tag it. Hashtag Jake Does Drag.
I like that.
Okay.
So if you tag it, Jake Does Drag, we'll do a little drawing at the end of the week and do a $50 gift card to the winner.
I thought, first off, I thought it was a $20 gift card, so you just like double and a halfed it. So that's amazing.
I've had a couple of Bon and Vivs, so
I'm gonna top it off with an extra year membership of TPG Pro for whoever gets chosen.
Ooh.
So that is
high.
The 22nd, which I think that's the 22nd of this week. That means, so you have to do, it doesn't have to be a video. It could just be your drag makeup, using the techniques that Jake spoke about tonight, and do it. Go for it. And I'm all into your husband's being made up in drag. So you maybe get extra points. You get 2 entries for every husband that's made up in drag. But what we'll do is we'll just, as we always do with anything we do contest-wise at TPG, we'll just take all the entries and then we'll put them in an Excel spreadsheet. And then I'll say to Jake, pick a number between 1 and 30, because that's the number of entries we get. And then Jake will say 27. And whoever's number 27 on that spreadsheet, that's who's going to get the $50 gift card from Alcone and the extra year of TPG Pro membership. So don't hang up yet, because we ain't done, because you haven't gotten the final steps yet. But do it and make it happen, and it's going to be amazing. So.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't have to be this. You could do a male drag makeup on yourself if you're a woman. You could do a, you know, quote unquote female drag makeup on yourself if you're a woman. Like this, that's the thing. Drag is not really about gender. It's about transformation. So you can do whatever you want to do. All right, I'm going to get in here with some liner because this is where your face really starts to transform. And this is a trick that I do for my liner. I'm actually going to block out my entire lid, which is not probably, if you're a beauty artist, what would occur to you. But I know for the size of liner that I'm going to do that I'm going to need it. And that I've already created all of this negative space with the white. We're actually not doing too bad on time.
I just want to tell you, after an hour, we usually have people like drop off. So if we have like 90 people on or 100 people on, it goes like 80, 75. We have more people on now than when we started because you're so kicking us.
I love it. Well, it's a fun, silly makeup, and I love that you chose, you know, a later time and that we can all kind of like relax with a drink. I think self-care is really important right now. And if that means getting into drag and having a bon and viv or two, then that's what you got to do, honey. Okay. So I always sketch this out in a gel liner because they're sturdier, they're more waterproof. It gives me that same control as cream makeup. But you can see the difference between the two eyes, how it really starts to, like the size and the shape of the makeup actually start to make sense and kind of read in a way that they don't. There's something about black and there's something about like sharp definition that really, really draws the eye and focuses everything in and makes like what is previously kind of a large and silly and overdone thing look almost believable. And I am using a Cosette brush. I finally can see the number on this one. This is Cosette number 11. It's a nice big liner brush. It's great for just getting this on really quickly. And again, not being overly precious with it because I'm going to go back with a super fine tipped liquid liner just to finish off and crisp the edges, but it doesn't really matter if my edges are a little wonky right now. Get all the way down to the lash line. There's nothing worse than if you have these giant like Muppet eyelashes on, but then you can see that naked waterline. Like I especially hate it with creature makeups where they've got like this beautiful creature makeup and they're in full prosthetic and they've got the whole thing. And then you see that like naked pink human waterline and I'm like, why didn't you just fucking finish it? It drives me crazy. And I think too, that's one of the reasons that aside from sort of opening up the eye shape that drag queens love that white liner on the bottom, is that it just sort of finishes that doll-like effect. Pretty even, pretty even. My one eye is bigger than the other, so I always have to cheat this one. Okay, I'm gonna real quick go under my eye with a very non-specific, let me see, what do I want? This will work. Cosette P365. And I'm just gonna take a shadow and just buff a little drop shadow down underneath just to tie this all together. Don't have to be real careful with it because it's all gonna get covered up with lashes and white liner. Let's just add a little definition and kind of make that top eye makeup not be floating. Michael, what did you say your drag name was the few times that you did it?
Why would you think I had a drag name?
Oh, was that privileged information?
It was Monica DeVoe.
Monica DeVoe.
Which I think is ironic because your last name is DeVille and mine's DeVoe. So I'm not gonna lie. I keep thinking that there might be like a DeVille and DeVoe show coming up.
Oh yeah, we could do a musical number. Sisters, sisters. There were never such devoted sisters with the big fans.
Can I keep my beard?
Oh, of course. Bearded drag is so in right now.
Oh my God. Oh, okay, I'm in.
I feel like you're like not doing drag if you're not doing bearded drag. Especially in Brooklyn. God, I'd probably get my license revoked right now for doing a simple, boring, non-bearded drag. I'm just crispening up the edges of this liner with Revlon Color Stay. It's just got a skinny little applicator. It doesn't matter. You can use anything. I honestly really like the Wet n Wild one. And then this, I think this really finishes the liner. I'm going to take, you would do this trick in beauty if you had a hooded eye. You would sort of take it up over and wrap it back around in. But I find with like the giantness of drag makeup, it sort of cheats the eye into everything being cohesive in a way that this one is sort of like floating and by itself, but wrapping that back up into that crease makes it like one. Is Joanne McDonough on taking notes for
her bridal work?
Listen, honey. So this is the truth. Brian, or as you guys know her, Trixie Mattel, she was a MAC artist and a bridal artist of all things before she got onto that show. But her specialty was Southeast Asian brides because honestly, the makeup that they were asking for was really not that far from drag makeup. Like they wanted like big cut creases and glitter, like, and this was before Instagram. That's just like, that was the style. So you're right. It all does kind of come full circle. It all makeup applies to other makeup in one way or another, right?
Absolutely.
And actually, I had to do, if James is still on, he'll laugh. I was on James's team backstage this last season, and we were doing, it was a presentation, and it was some student designers. It was their first time doing like a real backstage. And they got to ask for like whatever they wanted. Like James had sort of designed the look. It was, you know, beautiful, clean skin and kind of bronzed and da-da-da. And then each of the designers got to sort of request a feature. And sure enough, what did my designer ask for but giant overdone graphic wing liner? And honey, I was ready. Like they literally wanted this eyeliner. They pulled up a picture of like basically this, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. And they were like, can you do it in 2 minutes? And I was like, we'll see. But yeah, it does. It all kind of ties together. It all comes full circle.
Jake, I just want to mention that Stephanie Floor, who you know and love, Around the World Beauty, just said, amazing, I'm doing this look tomorrow on myself. And I was like, okay, done. And I just want her, I want her to post it for us.
I love it. I hope she goes to CVS like this. With your mask, though. Don't do your lips. All right, little bottom liner.
Now you're doing a little drag trick right there that a lot of makeup artists use in editorial and fashion as well, especially runway, where you drop the liner down below the lash line. Talk about that.
Yeah, so the reason I'm doing it is because I'm gonna glue a top lash on as a bottom lash. And so I need a little bit of space. Hold on, I just gotta clean this up before it runs. I have those eyes that like the minute that you get makeup on them, they start to water, which is great for 15 years in drag. So I need a little bit of space, but I'm also leaving a little bit of space for white. So I can go in and fill with white liner to sort of reopen it up and give that doll look. And believe it or not, I'm not actually that far off from being done with this makeup. Yeah, so, but it does, it opens the eye up, you know, even when you're doing it in editorial, instead of giving that smoldery kind of smoky effect of having it right up against the lash line, it gives an openness and a crispness that you wouldn't get otherwise. I'm so excited for Stephanie's submission. All right. Are we even? We're pretty even. Not bad. Okay. Just gonna zhuzh that corner with the tiniest little bit of black shadow and move on.
Normally, I would say, I hope you have somewhere fabulous to go tonight, but I know you don't, so I feel bad.
I really don't. It's okay. My dogs are gonna be like, oh, this bitch again. It's so funny. They're very used to, yeah, they're like, this doesn't faze them at all. A mask and they're done. Like one time I did a Catwoman thing in drag for Halloween. I actually got asked last minute to work a Halloween show, like 45 minutes before it was starting. And I was like, I don't have time to get into hair and makeup and stuff, but I had a Catwoman costume lying around. So I did that. And the dogs, the minute the mask went on, the dogs lost it. They were like, who are you? What have you done with our wicked stepmother? I can't take it. And I'll just do the same thing here, just zhuzh it with a little black shadow, same as we would in beauty, just zhuzh it out.
Jake, if you had to do something that was for, like, say, a photo shoot that was not going to last, didn't have to last, it was the same kind of thing, your look as a drag queen, your look in drag, I should say, and it was for a photo shoot. It had to last, you can touch it up, it was an hour or two, as opposed to going to lips and working for hours or going to do a performance.
Yeah.
Is there anything different you would do from a product standpoint or anything you different, like from a texture standpoint?
I think you could get away with a lot less powder. I think that's about the only thing I would change. And you could make shapes smaller. You know, the reason these shapes are so big is so that they read from stage. So you could make things a little bit smaller, but I'd still want the same intensity of color. I'd still really want, because you need to transform. That's the thing. Like if it just, you know, there's that, what's the old saying? Cover girl, don't cover boy. Is this saying in the drag world? It's like, it's not to mean that like CoverGirl as a brand is insufficient makeup or anything. It's just that it's not going to change you enough. It's not meant to do that. It's meant to just get you ready for your day, right? It's not going to totally change you into someone else. So for that, you really do need like the intensity of color. And that's again why I reach for the old school theater brands that I reach for. I'm using Danessa Color Fix in Lift because it is the only thing that I can put near my eye in white that doesn't crack or crumble or go all over the place.
Hey Jake, I have a question from Mariah Nicole. She asked about the texture. Well, it wasn't the actual question, but an older client who's looking to do drag or have drag makeup done or something so transformational, is there anything you would do different from a product standpoint or a technique standpoint for an older client with maybe more textured skin?
I mean, I wouldn't do the same things that I would do if I were working on like a mature woman and doing a beauty makeup, where like I'd stay away from a lot of creams and powders and da-da-da. It would, for me, it would be more like, what am I gonna really play up that again takes away from, let's say like this client wants to look younger, do a younger reference. It would be more about like, how do I play that up, and less how do I play down the other things. Because again, if I go in with like a tinted moisturizer or something like you might for working on a more mature woman rather than using a real full cover foundation, then you're still gonna have, it's, you know, older guys still have beard stubble. They still have that, you know, that bluer discoloration, even if they, and frankly, a lot of people, when you're putting them in drag for the first time, they're not drag queens. They don't even get that close of a shave. So I still would go for the heavy coverage and the powder and da-da-da. And I would just like really, like maybe they really want to play up like a big overdrawn statement red lip, or, you know, they want like a really like snatched brow or something. And I would just really play that up rather than sort of try to play down other stuff. All right, I'm just gonna buff these edges, and I am going to move on. I'm gonna do one little thing. I can see this side is a little bit smaller. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing as I was saying about the shoes. Like, if they're looking at the finished drag makeup and being like, oh, I can really see the wrinkles, like, I don't know, they don't have enough on then. Like, you know, like, you should be looking at the lip, you should be looking at the eye, you should be looking at the lash, you should be really looking at the played up features that transform that face, and worrying less about, you know, little creases or crinkles, because they're gonna happen. Even on young, fresh faces and drag makeup, it is a lot of product. And like, even for me, I don't have a lot of lines or wrinkles or anything, but product will start to push out of like these nasal labial folds and stuff after a few hours. It's just, it's skin, it moves, that's what it does. Should we do a little glitter, darling?
Well, I don't know. How long do you want it to stay with you?
I'm almost done. Lips are nothing.
I mean, how long do you want the glitter to stay with you?
Oh God, well, that ship sailed a long time ago. So I'm gonna use, this is Lemonhead. You could use any glitter you want. You could use glitter glue, you could use loose glitter. I'm just using the Lemonhead because it's a paste, it's a gel, and I can get it on really stinking fast. And take my eye in about 2 seconds. God. Yeah, from that to that.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's why I use.
I think they call that snatched.
Honey.
Isn't that what snatched means?
That's what I got my degree in. That's what I went to college for.
Hey, question about glitter, because I mean, literally at the end of the day, it's all about glitter, right? So when you're using a loose glitter, as opposed to Lemonhead or one of the other brands you mentioned, what do you use to adhere it so it doesn't end up on everyone and all over your face?
Well, so again, that baking technique is really going to come in handy. Even if the concealer is all set and ready to go, you can throw some powder back under that eye to catch any fallout. I actually do like, Ben Nye has a really nice glitter glue. The only thing about it is that it is alcohol based. So you got to be a little careful by the eye. You don't want to let it like roll into a tear duct or something. Not too bad, not too shabby. So that's a great option. I like these, again, the Lemonheads are great because you can kind of push them around. They stay tacky for a minute. So if you get a stray piece, you can just sort of like grab it with a Q-tip. NYX has a pretty nice glitter glue. In a pinch, I've used hair gel. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Anything that's going to be tacky and really dry down, because it's just about emphasizing those shapes and like blurring out those edges. But yeah, glitter can really take a drag makeup from a 2 to a 10 pretty fast.
I think I just retitled my autobiography, Blurring Out Those Shapes.
Yes, girl.
And emphasizing the edges.
Snatch and edges all over.
Snatch and, oh shit. Done.
There we go. Okay, shall we put on a lash? Actually, no, let's do lips quick. Lips and blush. Blush is nothing. Blush and highlighter. I mean, I'm gonna put it on, but it's all to taste. Like it's, you know how to do blush. You guys have all done blush before. I'm not gonna teach you anything special that you don't already know about blush. This is Ben Nye. I like to kind of keep the placement in the same sort of shape and zone as the contour and just have it fade from a sharp contour to more of a blush. Some people like to do more of an apple thing. It's just really down to taste. That looks real intense on the camera.
Is that your Cher impersonation?
I don't hate it though. My Cher. That looks real intense.
Your blush looks fabulous.
Yeah, and I'll usually tap a little bit like into the forehead. Okay, highlighter. Again, simple. I mean, just do what you would do for a beauty makeup, but instead of holding back, just go nuts. Drag is not about holding back, that's for sure. Even get a little on the collarbones. I usually take a little into the Cupid's bow. I don't do down the bridge of the nose really because then it makes it look wet, like your nose is running. Maybe I'll take a little excess into the forehead. That's pretty good. We're going places, Michael. We're getting there. All right, let's do a lip. Okay, so my lips are gone right now, but I don't really go nuts on the lips. I don't overdraw like crazy. Some people do. I have a pretty decent sized lip, so I'm just gonna go, I'll basically take the pencil, press it to where my lip actually is, and just set it slightly outside. Just kind of go back and forth. Yeah, so whereas my natural lip line is like there, you can see, I've just gone slightly outside. If you go too crazy, the problem is you can't use any gloss or anything shiny. The ridge of the natural lip will catch the light. And then what do they say? The jig is up. All right. Yeah, and I'm not gonna worry about the center there. Obviously the center is not even. It's not gonna matter.
I just want to say, if you stopped right now, I don't think anyone would think that we weren't at a Met counter in Wisconsin in 1990.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna take a liquid lip and just buff. Yeah, you know, I don't know. I've tried the lip without a dark sort of chestnutty liner because I usually do stick to a pretty nude lip for drag. Like I don't usually do like a Marilyn red or anything. It just doesn't, like, the crispness of everything else just needs a little bit of that depth. And obviously you blend it, but you do need that sharpness, especially for the lip syncing, you know? You're like, what? You weren't singing?
What's your go-to?
Oh, what's my go-to? I mean, musical theater. I love musical theater. I went through like a torch song thing, like I feel like every young gay boy does. I'm gonna do an old trick where I take a little bit of white in the center of that lip. I did work in a nightclub for many years, so whether I was any good at it, I had to learn how to fake my way through a pop song and learn some dance routines. I had a lot of fun. If you guys were at the makeup show last year, I performed and did a Bollywood routine to Jai Ho with a couple of backup dancers. That was really fun. All right, and I'll just take a shadow brush and give that dimension. You're right, it is a very 1990s lip.
Hey Jake, do you have any preference on the fiber of your brushes for the type of products that you use? Is it synthetic? Is it natural?
Yeah, I'm gonna mostly be using, I mean, there are some natural brushes in here. It's mostly synthetic, and it's just because it shows so much product. So you're washing the brushes constantly, which is kind of hard on them. Especially the cream brushes. The cream brushes are pretty much all synthetic. But I mean, if you want to take your time and be really precious washing, I'll show you the brushes at the end and how dirty they are. You could use all natural hair. It just would be a lengthy shampoo. I am using the Makeup Atelier Paris lash glue because it sticks like no one's business and it is fast drying. I'm
They're
going
not
to use
available anymore in the US though, right?
It's not, which is really annoying, but you can still get it from Paris. Quite a large custom eyelash that I've made. I'm gonna put the glue on and do one quick coat of mascara. The mascara honestly is just to disguise your natural lashes. It really is not doing anything other than that. It's just
not to be a dick, but I can't imagine with that lash, the mascara is gonna disguise anything, babe.
Well, I mean, I'm saying my lashes are very light, so it's covering up your boy lashes, so to speak. It's not thickening or lengthening anything. Yeah, we're not worried about that. Okay, and while that is, this.
And quick question, Angel Sotero has asked what the lip products were. You may have said them, we might have missed them.
Oh, I used a Makeup Forever pencil and a Makeup Forever liquid lip in, I did not say, Artist Liquid Matte number 101. And then I used actually a white NYX eye primer on the center because it's like a cream and it sort of sets down. All right. Take a Q-tip. And then when I do these, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see, but I do not go with my natural lash line. I start on my lash line and then I go well above it to give a lifted sort of almond-eyed appearance. So that there's a pretty decent gap right in there. How well you can see that. There you can kind of see. So it's close in there. And then there's a decent gap on the outer corner. How much did I blend, Michael? How many cocktails are you on?
I mean, the funny thing is, I shake like a tiny bit at a time. So anyone who knows me, if I had more than 2 martinis, you would not even be able to understand my words. They're not completely not understandable yet. So 2.5 martinis. Not bad.
Attaboy.
Yeah, attaboy.
That's just self-care right now. That's not even
self-care. Stacy Robinson said no comment on my amount of alcohol. And I would just like to point out that Chris Sarah's had 2 wines. Andrea Coherent Simpson has had 2.5 wines. Am I outing people? That's rude.
Who's counting? You.
Well, Aunt Tony Tolvay, you have no comment. I don't want to hear it anyway.
Oh, Tony Tolvay's had like 14 edibles by now, so let's... She's gagging right now. She's like, how dare she? Is it legal in New Jersey? It doesn't matter. This is a private class.
Exactly.
We're all friends here.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's an evening session and it's almost 9 o'clock. So really, you're lucky I can still speak, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly.
And it's a drag session, for Christ's sake.
We're all drag queens now. All right.
Okay. Lindsay Johnson said, what happens at TPG Pro stays in TPG Pro. Thank you, Lindsay.
Lindsay, I've been to Provincetown. I know what time it is.
Cheers to that.
And this is why I said, don't worry too much about that bottom drop shadow, because is any of it visible anymore? All right, I'm gonna finish I'm gonna tweak my brow one little bit. I am going to tighten up a little bit of liner I've cried off, and then I'm gonna put a wig on, honey. Should we open up the chat? Should we let people?
I'm laughing at the chat. Jake, I already texted Priya to make sure we can save it so you can read it later, because it's many funny and wonderful messages. Most of the messages talk about what a genius you are and how amazing you are and how beautiful the makeup is and how grateful our community is that you're here with us. So
emphasis on most. I always take a little bit of liner and just cover whatever little bit of glue there is.
Me too. That's one of my techniques also.
Yeah, you do that every day when you glue your beard on, right?
A little liner.
Yeah.
A little liner.
Just fill in the little beard hairs one by one.
Don't laugh, Tammy Bernard. I'm going to mute myself.
I think that we are reaching a pretty good place. I'm going to take this liquid highlighter that I got at a trade show, and I don't know what it is, and it's essentially gold glitter paste. Oh, this is by Lit Cosmetics. I'm just going to add a tiny little, oh, she's seen better days. And tap that in here. And maybe just a little on the lip. Should we open up the chat while I put on my jewelry, Michael?
Well, there. All right. So I am going to. Not my decision. Not my decision. Jake's decision. We're going to unmute
Drag
everyone.
Queen Happy Hour.
We're going to unmute. Be polite. I'm unmuting all.
Oh my God. Gosh.
Guys.
Yes, wow.
Love it.
Absolutely amazing.
Did you learn anything? Was this like this old hat to everyone?
Yes, girl, no, this was
Beautiful.
like everything.
Should I put some jewelry on?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna let you guys choose. Should I go with the AB, crystal AB, or clear crystal?
Clear.
Oh, wow.
Clear.
Clear. Clear.
Love it.
Yes.
And I will take off my. Did you keep the branded
Oh, I love that.
hashtag outcome? Outcome loves artists. Did Marissa Fatina make it on?
She did, but she said she's remuting because her cat is screaming.
Oh my God, I love it. She has the craziest cat.
No, I don't know how to remute myself.
Jake, I can't wait for my makeover soon.
Press the mute on top of the screen.
Zach, I'm going to do your makeover, bitch. Watch out.
Oh, Lord, don't let him do makeup.
Who the fuck said that? Is that Bethany Towns? I'm going to mute Bethany Towns.
Makeup.
Hey, that should be the next class. Michael, put some on the dragon. Okay, the clasp on that one has had it, so we're going to do that.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Full moment.
I like that one.
And then we'll pop a little piece of hair and see what happens.
I love it.
And Michael, you truly gave away the ghost because I was not. I think I've worn this wig twice, and you picked one of the
I
pictures.
love that. Wow.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, of the wig that I'm going to throw on.
Wow, beautiful.
Wow.
Yes.
Jake on the main screen.
Yes, you
Can't
better,
wait.
you better do it.
Take off my alcone, and I'm going to put on a fur.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Faux fur.
Sure, we'll go with that.
All the goodies tonight.
Is it a taupe fur? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Hey.
Hey, Senator. Oh my God.
So good.
That's incredible.
Yeah, this piece was made for
wig
me
is
a few
amazing.
years ago.
Wow. I love it.
I can't see.
Yeah, I can't see him either.
You can pin his picture at the top
Jake,
of
do
the
you do your own wigs?
I do some of my wigs. I did not do this one. This one was custom made for me for a pageant. I was hosting a few years ago. Yeah, I've done my fair share of updos.
But
I
Jake,
actually prefer to do wigs to hair because they don't complain or talk back.
Amen.
That's so true.
I would love to make you a custom Zach wig with all my spikes and create a new character.
If I can find Zach, I'll mute him. Hang on 1 second. Just kidding, Zach.
Oh my God.
I was not bullying you.
Thank you, sir.
Gorgeous.
Paula wants you to get it off, and Nushka wants you to go off, and Michelle wants you to take it off.
You fancy. You're going to the opera.
Yeah.
God, I feel like I'm about to go to the East Hamptons, honey.
Yes.
Yes. Baby.
Or the Met Gala.
Did you guys have any last questions tonight?
No. Amazing.
Absolutely.
How is everyone
So
doing?
much.
Is everyone okay?
I love it.
Awesome.
Okay, baby.
Yes.
I'm alone.
Requests or no?
I have to say, this was therapeutic.
Beautiful.
We're all going to do
So
a
good.
little Ben Nye setting spread.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh my God, thank you guys so much. This was actually really fun. It was a really nice way to to distract from everything that was going on and just catch up with all of my favorite artist buddies that I'm really missing right now. And I hope you learned something, and who knows, even if you never do drag makeup, maybe you can apply something from this.
Yeah.
So Jake,
Key.
so as we wrap up, thank you guys for being here, and I just want to thank Jake again, what an Alcone company for all of their support for our artists, but most importantly for you, Jake, for sharing your night with us. I just want, can you do me a favor? Can you come in and do like a little like close up to all the parts? Because when we look at that hairline and we look at the jawline and we look at those eyes, I want you guys to all notice like the fucking perfection that is here. And look at that. It's absolutely mind-blowing. This is amazing.
Oh, you guys are so
Hey,
sweet.
I was talking so they saw me. So do what I asked to do it again. Come in.
How come I can see it?
Amazing. So everybody, as Jake said, Alcone is going to do a gift card, and we're going to do a year of TPG Pro for anybody who submits, and we're going to choose a random winner. If you submit by this Friday, the 22nd. Hola, Chris. Oh, hi. Did everybody see Chris? Hi, Chris. Hola. Wait. I love you so much. Don't let your daughter touch the shit. Okay, there we go. Where's Jake?
I'm here.
Okay, there we go. So Jake, thank you. Is there any parting words that you want to share with our community?
You know, I just want to tell you guys that I'm thinking of all of you. This is such a difficult time for all of us. I know, you know, people have been sick and people have lost people, but just knowing that I have this incredible community has made it 100 times easier to get through this time, knowing that, you know, we're going to come out of this and we're going to be stronger together. We are taking care of each other. I've had so many Zoom calls with people and phone calls from people. And I think everyone is, especially my powder group people, is doing a really amazing job of taking care of each other. And that's what this is about at the end of the day. It's like we all like doing makeup, we all share that love, but that's not what brings us together. What brings us together and what Michael and James do such an amazing job of is creating a community. And we don't need makeup even for that community. That community is about us being there for each other and loving each other and taking care of each other. And I've seen so much of that. So thank you for that. Thank you for showing your love tonight. Thank you for showing up tonight. I mean, honestly, for me to like sit and get into drag in my dining room and have anyone care about it, I never would have guessed that would have happened at 18 as a little gay boy first coming out. So you guys are just an amazing community, and I'm really blessed and happy to be a part of it.
Well, I just want to say before we end this session, thank you. And I've never had so many people stick around for 2 fucking hours.
I told you. You were like, you're going to do it in an hour and a half. And I was like, no, I'm not, Michael.
No, and I'll tell you right now, if we have any questions that come up, listen, guys, if you have questions, if you have anything about product or anything else that I didn't answer that was coming up in the chat, please email me or post it on TPG Pro, and Jake will come on and answer those questions for you. Guys, thank you all. Cheers. Cheers to Jake. This is only my 2nd martini. Who's the baby, Michelle? Bye, guys. Thank you guys all so much. Bon vive.
Cheers to the powder group.
Cheers to everybody. Thank you guys for being here. And